Well guys, here we go. Today is one of the days of the year that I get most excited about. It's time for the very first honey harvest of the year. If you recall in the last video, we came out here just to check to see how honey production was coming along, and I was very surprised and pleased to find out that it was really coming along well. So of course this top box right here is obviously nowhere near ready to extract, but if you can see down in those cells just a little bit, you'll see all the shiny cells. That's nectar. So they're bringing back nectar. They're working on drying it down, and hopefully within the next month, maybe even sooner, who knows, this frame will be capped off and ready to go. Let's check the next box. And this is not the best day to be doing this, by the way, because we've got some storms rolling in later on. It's sunny right now, but storms are rolling in later, and bees get really finicky when the weather changes, especially when it's going to rain. I just remembered I forgot my little blower. I got to go back to the house. Now it's still pretty early in the season. They've only been bringing back nectar now for maybe a month or so, so I don't expect to be able to extract a ton of honey. But what I would like to do is get some out so they won't get overcrowded, and so they'll have places to put more nectar as it comes on in. Plus on top of that, we're out of honey. So this is one of the frames that we actually pulled in the last video. Do you see that upside down rainbow pattern they've got going on right there? This is not an extractable frame. There's way too many cells of open nectar right here. That means the humidity level in those cells is just way too high to be honey, and it will probably spoil. You have to wait until, I think it's 80% capped or something like that. I like to do more personally, but maybe 90%. I can't remember what the number is, but that frame in this box is not ready to go. This is the next frame down, and I would feel okay about extracting this one. This is foundationless. That's why you see all the big holes in here. I'd feel okay about extracting this, but I'm just going to leave this whole thing for the bees to dry on down a little bit more. We'll check the next box down as well, but my guess is we're going to run into a good bit of brood. Oh yeah. So we're getting down into the brood chamber at this point. Lots and lots of brood there. Actually, I'll try to get a close-up and show y'all what's really going on in this frame. So here's what's going on in this frame. Over there to the left of the screen, you've got capped honey. Then you've got nectar. You can see shiny down in those cells. And then we get into the brood right here. And you can especially see it right, here we go, right in that cell right there. You can see there's a little bit of shiny stuff down in there, and that's nectar. So what the bees are doing, as soon as a bee hatches out, the bees are backfilling the brood nest with nectar. And it's okay that they're doing that because they've got 4 boxes up under that box that they can still raise brood in, and if they fill these top 3 boxes up with honey, I'm fine with that. But right now this hive is nowhere near ready to extract. This one might be. This is a very tall hive. Same deal in here, good bit of nectar, but nowhere near ready to extract. I don't have to take this one off. I can see that it's the same story in this one. Not quite, but that's a lot of honey. So this box is kind of the same story on every frame. They're on the verge of capping off all of these cells right here, but it would not work to extract it now. Now I think we're going to strike gold in this box. Close, but not quite. Bingo. Not quite in this box. Let's move to the next hive. We'll get some out of this box too. These bees are a little bit irritable, and they've really kind of always been that way, and I'm not sure why. It's just the genetics, I think. A small spot on this frame that is not capped, but I'm okay with extracting this one. This is a good box. We'll take it. I think this next box is going to be a winner too. Oh, maybe not. Huh. I wouldn't have thought. They need some time. This next one is good. I'll just take the whole box and pick through it. This is the last hive, so we're almost to the fun part. Oh yeah. So this is the next box down, and you can see here, well, I was gonna say we're getting into the brood, but we're getting into a place that used to have brood. The bees are doing the same thing here. If you can see the shiny stuff down in the bottoms of those cells that are not capped, that's honey, or nectar that will be honey. And they're just capping off where they're putting nectar in the cells as soon as they hatch out, which is fine. Now that's something that can become a problem if they have absolutely no more space anywhere whatsoever to do anything, but right now it's not a problem. We're about to go extract some honey and give them some more space to put more honey, and they'll be fine in the brood chamber. Now I want to start off with this particular box here. This is some of the honey that came off of the, I think it was the second hive that we checked, maybe the third, probably the third hive that we checked. And I can say with a lot of confidence that this is this spring's honey. A lot of the honey that's in these hives is still left over from last year, be much darker and a little bit stronger, but this right here is my favorite honey. It's very light. Let's just cut it open and look at it. Actually, that's pretty dark. That probably is last year's. What I'm going to do is kind of pick out the ones that have the most recent honey in them and separate those out into a different bucket, because I usually don't separate my honey, but I just love this light early spring honey so much. I just want to have at least some of it separate so that I can really enjoy the stuff that I like. Now this frame right here, it's really kind of borderline. If I had a whole bunch of frames like this, I wouldn't extract them. But this is the light stuff, and I'm probably going to have it separately, and just it'll probably get used up pretty quick. So this frame is probably not the greatest frame to extract, but since it's going to get used up pretty quick, I don't feel too nervous about doing it. I wish y'all could smell it too. It's even got a different smell to it. This is most likely some of last year's honey, but check out that pattern in there. It's really, really cool seeing those. I don't even know what you would call it. It's not like very defined circles of comb on the top side there. It's just like waves. I love that pattern. Now these are the wax cappings that we cut off of the frames to get the honey out. Now there is a lot of honey still left in these cappings, and we got to get it out. So I've already crushed the cappings up to some degree, and I'm going to dump them in this bucket. And now we're going to strain it through this queen excluder to get the big chunks out. And I keep having to move around in the yard because there's so many bees out here. I didn't expect to have this problem. Somebody in the comments section on one of my honey processing videos gave me the idea of using a queen excluder to strain this honey out like this, and I thought it was a really smart idea. I don't use these queen excluders for their intended purpose anyway, so that just kind of made sense. We're going to get the scale out here in just a minute and see how much honey that we got after that drains just a little bit longer, but I wanted to show y'all something that I think is pretty cool. Earlier on in the video I mentioned that I was getting a lot of last year's honey off of these hives, and that may not make a lot of sense because this is this year. How are you getting last year's honey? But the reason that that's going on is because I left a lot of honey on the hives last year for them to consume over the winter. Honey is always a better food source for the bees than is sugar syrup or fondant cakes or dry sugar. or certainly a whole lot better than corn syrup. And my bees came out in winter very, very strong, and of course, lots of honey combined with low mite loads, and they've just been going nuts this year. So this is last year's honey. See how much darker it is? They got this honey probably late spring or into the summertime off of sources such as sumac and lots of other things that I'm not sure what they might be, but sumac and stuff like that. This right here, and I wish it wasn't so bubbly. There's a lot of bubbles in it that doesn't really give you a good picture of how clear it really is. But this is crimson clover, probably some blackberry and other types of clover. We've got tons of crimson clover around here, so this is probably mostly clover honey. And this is my favorite. There's a bee trying to get this. This is my favorite right here. It's very light tasting. It's very, very sweet. It actually burns as it goes down. It's so sweet. This has got a much bolder and richer flavor to it, and much fuller flavor, I guess you could say. It's very good too. But that right there is the prize, and that is why I separated it out and managed to keep gallon and a half, something like that, for our own personal use. So there's the difference right there. You can see the color of honey varies depending on the food source or the nectar source that the bees are working on. All right, so let's see how much honey we got here. This is what came out of the cappings. I've already strained it out through the queen excluder and through the fine filter, so it's ready to go. We've got a 2-pound bucket and 12.26 pounds total. So there was 10 pounds of honey in those cappings. Actually, there was more because I didn't get it all. This is the private stock, I guess you could say, the very light honey that I saved out for us. We've got 19 pounds total and maybe pound and a half worth of bucket, something like that, maybe 2 pounds. So that's about 27 pounds total so far. Let's check on our big bucket. Now, I didn't weigh this bucket. I'm guessing maybe 4 to 5 pounds worth of bucket. Let's see what the total is. That's 50. So we'll just call that one 45 pounds to allow for the weight of the bucket, because those are fairly heavy buckets. That's 45 plus 27, that makes 60. Math on camera never works. I think I got done just in time here, so, well, y'all heard that. 72 pounds of honey, that was a really good haul. I won't be able to get those boxes back on the hives until tomorrow, which is fine. That's not gonna affect anything. But yeah, I'm really happy with the 72-pound haul this early in the year. A lot of times I extract in June. I usually get a small harvest early, but usually my main harvest comes in like June or something like that. And what I'll do at this point is I'll put these boxes back on the hives and maybe just check them a couple of times a month until they're ready. I probably won't do another harvest until they're like totally and completely ready. But now I'm really happy. I feel better because the bees have somewhere to put honey. Once the bees run out of places to put honey, you run into trouble because they're going to swarm because they've got no room left. So this is going to give them a whole lot of extra room to do what they need to do, and hopefully this will mitigate any overpopulation or overcrowding swarms in the future of my hives. But anyway, I hope y'all enjoyed this video, and I will see y'all on the next one.